Over the past 4 years, I have spent a huge amount of time studying likability. What makes people likable and what makes them unlikable? Well, the most important aspect of likability is that when people like you, when audiences like you, they want you to succeed. If they don't like you, the opposite is true. They don't want you to succeed. So whether or not you feel you're a genuinely likable person or not, I'm going to show you 5 techniques that will help you connect with the audience to help make you more likable. And here they are. Number 1 is we like people who are like us. We like people who are the same age. We like people who are the same gender. We like people who grew up in the same neighborhood. We like people who have the same interests. And this is just a general rule of thumb, and it holds true most of the time. So one of your goals as a speaker giving a thank you speech is to find common ground. Find something that you have in common with the audience, and you want to bring that out. If you went to high school in the city where they're providing the award, say something about it. If it's an astrological society, talk about astrology, something you may have in common. An astronomical society, talk about the stars. You want to find common ground because we like people who are like us. Number 2, we like people who like us. Now, I just did a very fascinating and interesting study on a website called Ask500people.com. And I asked the question, are you more likely to like somebody because they are like you or because they like you? Now, what was interesting with the results, women was 50-50. 50% of women said I like people because they like me. 50% of women said I like people because they are like me. But men were a different story. Men overwhelmingly answered that I am much more likely to like somebody if they like me first. Now, what does that tell you? Whether it's a man or a woman, both work. But if you're speaking to a male audience, it is so important to let that audience know that you like them. So there are ways to do that. I like you. I appreciate you. I've enjoyed working with you. I like you folks. I like you people. Get it across. It is really important. Number 3 on our little list here is we like people that make us laugh. You know, I read a great little quote in a book on rule of thumbs, and it said if you can make somebody laugh who doesn't like you, you are more than halfway there to getting them on the other side of the fence. So I'm going to encourage you to try to do things that are funny and without telling jokes, because you certainly don't need to tell a joke to get people to laugh in the audience. I'm going to show you little tricks and little things that you can do to get the audience to laugh and chuckle, and it's important. On the other side of this coin, number 5 on likability is we like people who can laugh at themselves. Now, I have been in some incredibly embarrassing situations as a public speaker, and I mean, I don't even want to talk about how embarrassing some of these things were, but I have a choice to make. I can either get all upset and flustered and walk out of the room or yell at somebody, or I can laugh at myself and how embarrassing it was. And I will tell you for a fact, when you laugh at yourself, even if you've never done this before, if you can just chuckle at yourself under your breath, you are going to make that audience like you hugely, because they're going to see you as human. They're going to see you as someone that doesn't think they are God. So try to laugh at yourself. And as a matter of fact, if in your thank you speech you have an opportunity to say something that's self-effacing, do it. If something embarrassing happens during your talk, there's no guarantee that your talk is going to go perfect, that the microphones are going to work, and that everybody's going to do exactly what they're supposed to do. If something silly or ridiculous happens, laugh at yourself. Do not make this a tense moment. Everybody in there is watching you. So lead the way and laugh at yourself. And finally, my 5th tip on likability is we like genuine people. We do not like people who are trying to be someone else. The very first talk I gave was to a group of men about 70 years old and older. It was the Kiwanis Club in Stone Mountain, Georgia. And the speech I gave it doesn't matter. I don't even remember what it was, but I remember a fella came up to me when the talk was over, and I was all happy it was over, etc. And he said to me, he said, "Bob, you look just like Bob Sommers trying to be Zig Ziglar." And I laughed and said, "Thank you." And he said, "Bob, that's not a compliment." So there's a lesson to be learned there. Be yourself. Don't try to be a comedian if that's not who you are. be yourself. We like genuine people. And it's not so much that we don't like disingenuous people, we don't trust them. So again, you know what makes an acceptance speech easy? And remember one of the first three things I told you is one of the easiest speeches? It's easy because everybody in that room expects you to be you. They don't expect you to be somebody else. You should not expect you to be somebody else. Be genuine, be yourself, and you know what? Follow these rules and be likable. All right, now we've covered the psychology of not only likability, but we've covered the psychology of what an audience wants, what an audience doesn't want, and really what an acceptance speech is all about. And remember, the single main premise in making an acceptance speech fabulous is to have the audience like themselves when it's over. When we get to our next video, we're going to start building our acceptance speech. I'm going to walk you through the 7 components of an effective acceptance or speech, or a thank you speech. And we're going to look at these one at a time. And as I am doing this, I would like you to have a pencil and paper, or if you have a keyboard off to the side, you can be doing some things. I want you to be making notes because this is where we're actually developing our talk. And I don't expect you to write it out. That is not the way to give an acceptance speech. You don't want to write it out word for word. If you want to do that as practice, fine. But ultimately, we're going to look at blocks, 7 separate, simple blocks that you can follow to give a phenomenal acceptance speech. All right, we've looked at the psychology. Now we're going to get into the meat of this thing. And I'll see you in the next video.